When my spouse's toxic friends convinced her to grab a bag and vanish for a week to teach me a lesson, they assumed I'd come crawling back, begging for forgiveness. But instead, I picked up the phone and made a call that turned their entire little scheme upside down. While she was celebrating her so-called victory with those bitter women, I was already moving forward with something none of them saw coming. My name is Ethan Mercer. I'm 43 years old, and for the past 16 years, I've been building something I thought would last a lifetime. Not just my marriage to Rachel, but also my auto repair and tire business, which began as one small workshop and grew into a chain of 5 busy branches across Riverdale City. I worked endlessly to provide for my family, my wife Rachel, who's 40, our 17-year-old son Caleb, and our 13-year-old daughter Sophia. Ironically, it might have been that very success that destroyed us. When I was grinding day and night to get the first shop off the ground. Grease on my hands, barely sleeping, Rachel and I were solid. We were a team. She'd bring dinner to the shop, help with the paperwork, even sweep the floors when I was too worn out to do it myself. But when the money started coming in, everything shifted. Rachel got a job at the downtown credit union, said she wanted her own career, her own identity. I supported that. I wanted her to feel fulfilled. What I didn't expect was that she'd find a new circle of friends, women who seemed determined to tear apart everything we had created. The first time I met Monica Vale, I knew she was bad news. She walked into our home like she owned it, designer bag, manicured nails, clothes that cost more than most folks' rent. She was 46, divorced twice, and carried both failures like medals of honor. She spoke to Rachel in a way that made my skin crawl, little jabs about how she was settling or how she deserved better than being tied down. She bragged about her divorces like they were victories, about how much money she'd drained from her ex-husbands. That should have been my first warning. Any woman who celebrates destroying marriages has no place in a married woman's life. But Rachel, she soaked it all up. The change was slow, like watching a train wreck in slow motion. Late nights with her friends. Criticism over everything I did. Words that sounded a little too much like Monica's voice. Meanwhile, my tire shops were thriving. 5 locations by 2023, pulling in real revenue. Caleb was even working part-time at one branch, learning the ropes just like I once did. Sophia was busy with school and her soccer team, but she'd still swing by and light up the shop with her smile, the same smile her mother used to give me, back when she believed in me. But Rachel? She had grown cold. Distant. Family dinners became tense. Conversations turned into criticism. She dismissed Caleb's dreams of playing college baseball, telling him community college would be more practical. When I pointed out that we could afford it, thanks to the business, she rolled her eyes, as if financial stability was a flaw. Later that night, I tried to talk to her. She told me I was too focused on work, too blind to what was happening at home. That stung, because I knew everything I did was for them. My mother, Margaret, a sharp 68-year-old who never held her tongue, pulled me aside one Saturday morning. Sitting at her kitchen table, sipping coffee, she said bluntly, "Ethan, that woman is not the same person you married. And that Monica? She's poison. You need to fight for your family before it's too late." She was right. But I wasn't ready for the storm that came next. One evening, I came home early and walked straight into what felt like a therapy session from hell. Rachel was sitting with Monica and 2 other women, wine glasses in hand, tearing apart marriage like it was a failed business deal. And then I heard it. My wife's voice. "Ethan thinks just because his tire business is doing well, that makes him a good husband and father. But success means nothing if he's not emotionally there." It felt like a knife. I worked my soul out, never missed a game, never missed a teacher conference, and now it wasn't enough. That night was the turning point. Not long after, I discovered Rachel had been moving money from our accounts. Thousands spent on boutiques, spas, and worst of all, a $6,000 transfer to Monica Vale's so-called consulting business. My wife had literally been paying that woman to destroy our marriage. When I confronted her, Rachel crossed her arms and said, "Half of it is mine anyway." That was the moment I realized she wasn't the same woman I'd built my life with. So when she packed her bag one Tuesday morning, announcing she was leaving for a week to teach me a lesson, I didn't panic. I didn't beg. I didn't break. Instead, I called a lawyer. While Rachel was celebrating her freedom with Monica and the rest, I was signing papers. Divorce papers. The kind that made her absence permanent. When she finally strutted back 5 days later, expecting me to welcome her with open arms, I stayed seated at my desk. Calm. Detached. She smirked and said, "I'm back." I handed her the envelope. And I filed for divorce on Wednesday. Her face drained of color. She begged. She promised to change. But it was far too late. The divorce dragged for months, but in the end, I kept the business, the house, and most importantly, my kids. Caleb chose to live with me full-time. Sophia split her time, but even she drifted more toward my side. Rachel? She's still hanging around with Monica, dating some younger guy, living in a small apartment that she calls freedom. From what I hear, she tells people she's finally living her best life. But when I see her at school events, she just looks tired. Older. Lost. As for me? The business is stronger than ever. Caleb is working beside me, learning everything, carrying on the family name. I've even started seeing someone new, Hannah Clark, a 31-year-old nurse. She's kind, grounded, and best of all, doesn't have toxic women whispering poison in her ear. For the first time in years, I feel hope. My advice? If your partner ever lets outsiders poison your marriage, believe their actions. Protect yourself and your kids. Because sometimes, the lesson they try to teach you ends up being the lesson that breaks them.